Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I am joined by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo.
What up? Yeah, I'm here.
Hey. What up? Oh man, we are also joined by the savage himself, Billy. What's going on, Billy?
Good. I got a new soundboard over here, so I'm just praying we have a podcast this week. That nothing goes wrong.
Well, you hear my son in the background already, right? He already trying to sabotage it.
Oh man, can you turn my volume up a little bit too, Billy?
Yeah.
So what? If you guys haven't noticed, if you guys are watching this visually, you guys are actually seeing that it looks a lot different. We are actually working with a new program, and we got some sound effects. Billy got a new soundboard, which is phenomenal. And so we're taking our production to a whole different other level. So we're excited, guys. Again, we are going into a new year, so we're going to be going into 2022 strong. And to say where this podcast has come from would be an understatement. I mean, it is just crazy how far we've come, right?
Hey, from the couch in the living room.
Bro, from the couch in the living room to Billy's small seat to doing it in the car. I mean, it's been phenomenal. And if you guys haven't noticed, the studio is looking different. My wife finally gave me a compliment about how well everything is turning out. So, you know, I can actually do something right, I guess.
It looks good. The black wall looks good.
The black wall looks real good, man. So, but real quick, before we hop into today's topic, I wanted to just first and foremost tell you guys thank you, specifically AJ, specifically Billy, and to all of our followers and fans out there. It has been a very, very tough time in my family. This whole year has actually, but since September, more so, from the death of my father-in-law to, if you guys listened to last week's episode of the podcast, you guys will have heard that my father is currently on hospice and my grandfather is not doing too well either. So it's been a tough time just trying to be there for the family, trying to help my moms out. And so I've kind of just taken a little bit of a break from content, which I'm getting back on in the studio the last few hours now, so we're recording content, but it's been tough, but we're getting through it. So I just want to thank you guys for being there, supporting me, for all your prayers. A lot of you guys have reached out to me either through email or Instagram, whatever it is, and so I want to tell you guys that I'm thankful for it and I appreciate you guys. So I want to say that. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Billy, my brothers.
That's what family for, brother. You know, I'm always here for you.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. So before we get into today's topic, man, AJ, you said you wanted to share something with us, and then we'll hop into the topic that we're going to discuss.
I
want to hear it.
I'm finally able to talk about this, and I'm not even sure to what extent I'm allowed talking about it, but I'm going to talk about it. So, you know, y'all going to get it raw. So over the past 2.5 weeks, I was in trial, and I couldn't talk about it because we were actively in trial. Me, 7 other officers, and the entire city that I work for were being sued out of a use of force from 2017. All right.
Okay.
2017. Keep that in mind. Like, this was forever ago. All right. So was it 17, 18, 19, 20? Yeah, 2017. So anyway, long story short, we worked for this task force, apprehending like violent criminals. And we were handpicked by a supervisor to work this task force, and we have pretty much free reign. Like, if you wanted to come in plain clothes, you came in plain clothes. You wanted to work a plane car, you get in a plane car, you do surveillance, and we were killing it. Like, we arrested over 160 violent offenders. I'm talking murderers, rapists, you name it, like felonious assault, people who shot people, stabbed people, really bad DV suspects, assaults against POs, whatever. We come across this guy who had a crazy amount of felonious assaults against a police officer warrant. All right. He assaulted one of our own, the city that I work for. He went down to Kentucky, ran over a trooper down there, went to West Virginia, beat up a bunch of troopers down there. Like, this dude was on the run. It's bad dude. We end up running into him in a corner store. He fights with us. The fight is on. The fight lasted forever. Backup arrived. I mean, there's 4 of us at the time trying to arrest this dude. We can't arrest him. Punches are being thrown. He bit me at one point. I mean, it's just crazy, right? Backup arrives. We end up taking him into custody. He sues. Fast forward to 2.5 weeks ago. I have to share this story because it's very on par with the way the world is today. All right. So lawsuit. I'm not foreign to lawsuits. I've been sued before. I'm not bragging about that, but I just have, means I'm used to it, right?
Yeah.
So this is a federal lawsuit because he claimed that we violated his civil rights. We used excessive force. So it's a federal lawsuit. So we go to the federal courtroom. The judge that we sat in front of was by far the most unconstitutional person I have ever met in my life. So keep in mind, we have a jury. All right. So we picked a jury. When I say we, the opposing counsel and our counsel, they split it half and half. They picked jury out of a big pool of them, and they determine the outcome. The judge, his sole purpose is to be unbiased during the entire trial and to be the gatekeeper of information. So if opposing counsel tries to bring something that's not relevant, it's his job to go, no, that has nothing to do with the case. You can't bring that in. If we try to bring something that's crazy and from left field, it's his job to go, no, you can't bring that in. And then he kind of determines what information the jury gets because the jury has the ultimate decision. It was embarrassing. It was by far one of the most stressful things that I've had to go through. I mean, this judge was crazy and he did not care. Like, he didn't try hiding it. He used phrases in front of the jury talking about me and my coworkers. These officers think they're above the law. These officers assaulted this man while these officers were beating this man. Now, keep in mind, everything that we did was justified. Like, it went through all sorts of investigations. We were cleared. But it was so stressful, and he was so not unbiased and unconstitutional. He threatened to hold one of the officers in contempt. He yelled at him in front of the jury. He allowed the opposing counsel to bring in so much outside stuff to try to make us look bad. And he denied us to even talk about this person's history, which is a factor of Graham versus Connor, right? The warrants that he had. Didn't allow us to talk about any of that. Or I shouldn't say that. Didn't allow us to talk about most of that. So we had our trial day last week. I want to say it was Thursday. We get a call. We say, hey, there's a verdict in. Everybody has to come to the courtroom. We come to the courtroom, and there were 17 counts. So, he assault, he violated his rights, all sorts of stuff. And we were all cleared. Thank God. We were all clear. The jury came through. They cleared us all. They did a great job. But it was just concerning because this judge is a federal judge. Wow. And if he's willing to act like this on a case that's cut and dry, like this, half of it was on film, and the half that's on the half of the altercation that was on film was crazy. You see him standing up, throwing officers. He's biting me. Now you do see us punching him. Always looks bad, right? You can't imagine what the first half looked like. So if this judge is willing to be so unconstitutional and biased in a situation like this, it concerned me on how he might act and how other judges across the country might act, because they just have such a distaste for police. But the jury came through. And that's the saving grace. That's how I wanted to end it. The jury came through. The justice system worked, but it was frustrating. So your boy, I feel like I'm a free man now because it was stressful. Ryan didn't know this. Billy didn't know this. The only person that knew I was going through this were my coworkers and my wife, because I wasn't even out talking about it.
Man, that's crazy, because it makes you realize that the court of public, the court of public opinion really can alter cases. Now, I am a firm believer in our justice system. I believe that the way our justice system is set up, as far as when we're talking about, going to court, I think there's a lot of good things about it, but I think there's room for improvement, no doubt about it. I think with everything we can always improve. But when you start talking about the court of public opinion, it's scary to see what people can do or how they can alter a case based off of based off of their opinion, which is why it's called the court of public opinion.
Oh yeah.
And so what did you learn from it? Go ahead.
Dude, it was such an eye-opening experience, man. Like, it really opened my eyes to the way that certain defense attorneys or attorneys in general are. Like, these were, so the attorneys this guy hired are from the Chicago area. They went from Chicago to Cincinnati, then Cincinnati to Cleveland, and they've had a lot of high-profile police cases that they've won millions of dollars from, right? But these are the attorneys you like see in the movies. Like one day, I'm not exaggerating one bit. One day, this was a conversation that they were trying to have with us. They were like, it's so hard in this city because I don't know what the weather's going to look like. And then the other attorney's like, oh my goodness, tell me about it. I didn't know if I should drive my Range Rover or my BMW. So I just drove my Range Rover to be safe. And it's like, what? Like, what kind of conversation are you having right now? But they were crazy, man. Like they lied like the entire time. Like they told the jury I was a Golden Glove boxer. They told the jury I weighed 250 pounds. I've never weighed over 230. I'm definitely not a Golden Gloves boxer. They said that I punched this guy like 15, 20 times. That's not true. I punched him 8 times. And part of that is frustrating because they just did it. But the other half of that that's frustrating is the judge allowed it to happen. So if anything, it opened my eyes to like, there are people who will do anything for money. They brought in a quote unquote expert witness. That's a security guard from North Carolina. We looked him up. He's a security chief, but he came in, he told everybody he's a chief of police. He's a use of force expert. He called cops pigs at one point. Like, I mean, it was crazy. Like it was
the
something.
Judge?
No, the expert witness that they brought in. It was a security guard.
Gotcha.
It was just crazy, man. Like it opened my eyes to a lot. That was really scary to see, but it was also a relief because the jury did what they were supposed to do. They were able to see through it. But I'm not going to lie, like I am somewhat scared now because you just don't see or experience these things and they're there. And I'm not just saying it because I was involved. I'm saying that because it was real. There were so many times during this trial, I would look at my coworkers like, is this real? Like, did he just say, like, they would put words in our mouth? Like at one point, one of our commanders said it was like he had superhuman strength because he did. Keep in mind, we were all handpicked to be on this task force because of our reputations, because of the way we handle ourselves, uses of force. Like we're just capable, right? And we all were like, this dude's superhuman. So the commander on stand said it was like this guy had superhuman strength, and the judge stops him and goes on this rant about black superhuman strength. And we were like, wow. We didn't say anything about black superhuman. Like, what are you talking about, Judge? In front of the jury. So
let me ask you this. To play devil's advocate, do you think that this happens reverse?
I do.
Like in favor of
yes.
Like the other side, you know what I mean? That against.
Yeah. So like super pro police.
Correct.
I absolutely do. And that was a conversation I had with a small group of us the first week. But this goes back to the Kyle Rittenhouse conversation that we had. And that's the really frustrating thing about it, right? There's no doubt in my mind that there were and that there still are judges out there who will automatically favor the police. And that's not their job. And I know that might be hard for you listening to this right now, but like that's not the judge's job. The judge's job is to be unbiased, to go off of the facts, and to be the informational gatekeeper to the jury, right? During a civil trial. Like that is the judge's sole purpose. So with that said, I also know that because that has historically happened and probably still is happening, there are now a handful of judges like the one that I experienced during this last 2.5 weeks. But that doesn't make it right. And I feel like we as a people have developed this mindset of, well, they're doing this, I'm going to do that. Instead of, well, they're doing this, I'm going to do what's right. Yep. I'm going to rectify the issue. And that goes back to the whole dog thing, right? If my dog doesn't like black people, you and Billy come over, the dog bites you, you're mad, you're upset. You're not mad that you got bit. You're mad that Billy didn't get bit. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't make it right. Instead of talking to me, the owner, and rectifying the issue with the dog. Exactly. And it goes back to that same exact principle, right? Like we have judges like this who are so upset that they're willing to go out of their way to defend a violent person who is detrimental to society in general, all because there have been judges and probably are still judges who would defend the police no matter what. That don't make it right.
No, it doesn't at all. And that's where it just shows that there's a lot of flaws still in the system on both sides, which is why we have these conversations, because we know and recognize that they got to get fixed. And so, reform is a good thing. A lot of times people think it's a bad thing. It's just got to be reformed in the right way. So, that's it's crazy to see where we have to go and what new things we have to to repair, or it just kind of makes you aware, like, hey, the system isn't perfect. And I think sometimes, in our profession, a lot of times people, I don't want to say they believe it, but we always lead with, man, everything is so good, everything is so perfect. And it's like, nah, it's not. Like there is credibility where people say that they're frustrated with the system. It's just knowing where the repairs need to come, as opposed the right repairs, as opposed to just making repairs based off of this whole a lot of these falsehoods that are put out there in the narrative of the media. So, hey, so what I want to do real quick, I know we don't have long today, but I want to, recently Kim Potter was convicted of manslaughter. Now, if you're not familiar with Kim Potter, she is the officer that killed Daunte Wright on April 14th, I think it was. Let me make sure I got that date right. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but it was, April 11th. So April 11th of 2021, which I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but it's been kind of interesting that a lot of these cases in the past, which would take a long time to decipher, man, they've been pumping cases out of Ahmaud Arbery case, this Kim Potter case, the George Floyd case.
Because when did this one happen?
This happened April 11th, so it hasn't even been a year yet.
And I just told y'all I went through one from 2017.
Yes, exactly. So that kind of goes. So when you talk about it's almost scary. It's like if you're caught up in a high profile situation, that trial is going to be done a lot sooner than it would typically in the past. So just kind of things to think about. But what I want to do is I want to kind of lay the foundation. Kim Potter, she was on patrol. They contacted the Daunte Wright, who is a person who ends up dying. They contacted him. He did have a warrant for his arrest, I believe. Long story short, Daunte Wright is not complying with officers, and Kim Potter, she reaches for her gun, believing it's a taser, and fatally kills Daunte Wright. So we're going to go ahead and watch the video real quick, and then once we watch the video, we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and show y'all the latest feature to our thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Boom.
As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands.
All right, so I'm going to go back one more time so we can just see the moment where they're trying to extract him from the vehicle. All right, so
it's tough.
Let's talk about a few things first. First and foremost, when this first came out, a lot of people were saying that they believe that Kim Potter intentionally tried to kill him, tried to murder him, and that there's no way that she can mistake a taser or a gun for a taser and vice versa. One of the key things I'm going to tell you now is one of the ways we train as police officers, and I'm sure AJ trains the same way, is that anytime you're going to utilize some type of less than lethal option, in this case it was a taser, we usually give an announcement saying what we're using before we deploy it. So in this case, we'll say, like, if I'm going to use a taser on somebody, I'll say taser, taser, and then I'll deploy the taser. And they train us that way from the very beginning, from the academy all the way on through your career in law enforcement. The reason we do that is because, one, we want to give that warning for our partners, like, hey, I'm getting ready to deploy this, so that way they can stand back and let you do what you do. Two, it's also another warning for the subject that you're dealing with, to let them know, like, hey, less than lethal force is about to be used. In this situation, if you actually watch the video, maybe I'll play it again here in a minute, you'll see Kim Potter, she says taser, taser, and then that's when she fires a gun. There is no way that she intentionally meant to shoot him with a gun and said taser, taser prior to doing that. physiologically, it's not even possible because you have a second and a half to perceive a threat. You have a second and a half to react to it. So there's no way that she said taser, and immediately shot him with the gun and could cognitively think about doing that without being the way that she trains, if that makes sense. So like she doesn't train to say taser and use a gun. She says she trains to say taser and shoots a taser, not a gun. So that was one of my first observations. I'm gonna turn it over to you, AJ, and then I'm gonna bring up a certain phrase or certain term that's out there that I think kind of goes towards this case a lot.
I mean, so before you even see the gun in her hand, she says, "I'm gonna tase you. I'm gonna tase you." You can also hear how worked up she is, like in the sound of her voice. Like you can hear like she is conditioned black, which is a term that we in law enforcement use to where you black out, you're in autopilot mode, and sometimes you do things. So like in just an example, like we've had recruits go condition black in like trained environments to where they just black out and they just start like beating the hitman or like slamming over and over again, like the person just they're so worked up. So I 1000% think that she mistakenly grabbed her gun, thinking it was the taser and pulled it because as soon as the gunshot goes off, she goes, "Oh, I just shot him." Mm-hmm. That's a very genuine reaction.
Yes, very genuine. You can't script that. You can't create that.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to start and harp on this part a lot is simply because the narrative out there was she intentionally chose to shoot him. There's no way that she could have mistaken a gun for a taser. Tasers and
why though?
Well, I know. And then people are like, "Oh, tasers and guns, they weigh different. There's the weight is different, the feel is different," which all of those things are true. But there's a phrase that I want to know if either one of you guys have ever heard of this before. Have you guys ever heard of slips and capture error?
Slips and capture error?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So I'm going to read you guys the definition. Slips and capture error is a type of error that may occur in high stress situations. It has been described as a phenomenon in the psychology of human error, such that a person may inadvertently perform one action while intending to do another. Mm-hmm. Scientifically speaking, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So that's the science that explains Kim Potter's action in this situation. Slip and capture error. So slips and capture error. So meaning she was intending to utilize a taser, but inadvertently used her gun because of stress that she was induced to in that environment. So does it mean that she should be excused of her actions? Absolutely not.
Right.
I think we live and work in a profession where we are held to a higher standard. And I think that we can't have these mistakes can't be made.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was a mistake. So what the question that becomes is what should be the punishment of her mistake? So in this case, they found her guilty of first-degree manslaughter. Now, before we answer that question, I want to bring up something else because I think it begs to a legitimate argument. Alec Baldwin was on the scene of a movie set.
Ooh.
He points a gun. Oh, well, according to him, he didn't fire the gun, but whatever.
He never pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he never pulled the trigger. That's neither here nor there. But either way, he pointed the gun at people in a movie, pulls the trigger, it goes bang, and somebody dies from it. Now, I'm sure you can go back to that situation without knowing all the background of it, but if somebody would have did safety checks on the firearms that they were using, I'm sure they would have saw that, hey, there's something wrong with this gun. There shouldn't be a real bullet or whatever in it, you know what I mean, or it shouldn't go bang. So the argument could be made was that was a genuine mistake, right? Is Alec Baldwin or whoever else on that set, are they going to be prosecuted for manslaughter? Or is it going to be chalked up as a mistake and nobody is going to be held to the same standard? Which kind of goes back to our conversation at the beginning of this podcast is the court of public opinion. Because Kim Potter is a police officer and she shot, just so happens to be a black male, she's going to be held to the higher standard, convicted of manslaughter, and she's going to receive a prison sentence for it, which on the flip side of it, we talk about a Hollywood celebrity who inadvertently pulls the trigger on a handgun, killing somebody, will probably not be punished and will be chalked up to this was just an unexplainable mistake. So my point is that I'm not saying that Kim Potter should get off. I think that, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine. I think where the failures in this situation was a failure in training. I think that we train certain ways so that way this mistake can't be made, or at least can be avoided, where you have your taser on the opposite side of your body, so you cross draw and you just do so many different repetitions of cross drawing a taser so that way you don't get confused. It can come back to, I don't know if the tasers were yellow or black, but some the agencies change the color of the taser so that way it can't be mistaken for a firearm. It can be attributed back to not enough times of actually doing less lethal deployments of tasers and vice versa. So I think the failure here might have been a failure in training, but I don't think that she had the intent to kill Daunte Wright, nor do I think that, whatever her years of prison she's going to get, it may not add up or equal to what somebody else may or may not get, i.e. Alec Baldwin. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Can I ask a question before AJ goes?
Please do.
So we've talked about in past videos where a car can be a deadly weapon. He's technically getting back in the car and starting it when she is kind of still on him, right? So let's say, what if she pulled the gun out on purpose and said, I will shoot if you continue to drive? Like, if it wasn't a mistake, would this be different, or was the gun not necessary at all?
So yes, that's different, because if he's in that car and she at the time feels that her life is in danger, then she can justify why she would utilize deadly force. But her mindset was not one of she felt her life was in grave danger, at least from a fatality standpoint, because she says, I will tase you. I'm going to tase you. You need to stop or I'm going to tase you. So clearly in her mind, her mindset is this hasn't risen to the level of use of deadly force yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Because then what if it was like, if you watch the video, sorry, these are hypotheticals.
No, these are good. This is because I'm sure audience.
If it's a video where her life is in danger, like everyone watches it and they say, okay, her life is for sure in danger. She's about to die, but she still makes the same mistake between taser and gun. Is it different? Or is it because she made the mistake is why she's in trouble?
I think the argument would be different
sense?
Because I don't know if she would necessarily be trying to use a taser in that situation. If
right.
In your scenario, would she be trying to use a taser if she felt that her life was in imminent danger, like that could cause serious bodily injury and or death?
Yeah,
that would be the right application.
I guess my question doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it does. Go ahead, AJ.
It does, but you have to also take into consideration, like, after these incidents, you have an interview and you have a report. And if what you put in that, what you say in that interview and what you put in that report doesn't match up, then that's going to cause like a huge issue. So like, say she ended up in the car and Daunte Wright took off with her in it and he's driving super erratic and she reaches for what she thought was her taser to tase him, but she shoots him. Now in that incident, like, or that instance, she could have been justified shooting him and stopping that threat because she could articulate that her life was in danger and other people's lives were in danger as well by his behavior. But if she doesn't articulate that in the initial interview and or the report, then that's going to cause a huge issue, because why did you really do that? Like, there has to be a reason for all of our actions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Let me ask. Yeah, that makes total sense. So let me ask you guys, do you think that, because they're going to give her, I don't know when her sentencing is going to come, but I would imagine it's going to be, obviously it's going to be prison time. I mean, you're convicted of a felony, first-degree felony.
And what state was this in?
I want to say Oklahoma. Was it Oklahoma? Let me see. Let me look it up right now. Sorry, I didn't have that on.
What was her name again? Something Potts?
Kim Potter.
Kim Potter.
Let me see. Police Department.
Everyone listened to us just Googling.
Yep. This happened in...
With the Brooklyn Center Police
Minnesota.
Department. Oh. What?
Billy was so defeated.
Brooklyn, Minnesota.
This happened in Minnesota.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to read.
What was I reading?
Was it first-degree manslaughter?
First and second-degree manslaughter.
All right. So I'm just trying to look up.
And so as you look that up, these are good conversations to have. And I want you guys to really, and again, I think that we can't. I've said this before. We can't afford to make these mistakes, and I want you to know that this is not the first time that something like this has happened in law enforcement. I think I want to say that if I'm not mistaken, the statistic of a person actually getting shot or with a gun as opposed to a taser happens about once a year, if I'm not mistaken. But it happens, and it's not as rare as people think it is. Now, is that an excuse for her actions? Absolutely not. I mean, it just goes back to what our training should be. Like, we need to have better training so that way we can avoid these mistakes. But I'm here to tell you guys, it is crazy what we are capable of doing when your body and mind is induced to stress. I don't think people understand that. Like, when things feel differently, you perceive things differently, you hear things differently, you see it differently. And we have to take into account all of those physiological changes that occur to our body when you're induced to stress. And so, again, this is not excusing her actions, but it's just showing that her intent was not to kill him. Her intent was clear that she wanted to tase him. It just so happens that she got in like AJ says, condition black, where she almost lost track of what she was really doing and just reacted. Go ahead, AJ.
So I looked up first-degree manslaughter, Minnesota. And this is kind of weird. I want to understand what she was convicted of here. So it says manslaughter in the first degree, and there's subsections. So there's 5 subsections, and I'll just read all 5. So all 5 of these are a section of the charge in which you would have to meet. You don't got to meet all 5. You just have to meet one of the 5.
Okay.
1, intentionally cause the death of another person in the heat of passion provoked by such words or acts of another as would provoke a person of ordinary self-control under like circumstances. And then it goes on to say a crying child does not constitute provocation. So number 2, violates section 609.224 and causes the death of another or causes the death of another in committing or attempting to commit a misdemeanor or gross misdemeanor offense. Then it goes on to say the same. Number 3, intentionally cause the death of another person. Because the actor is coerced by threats made by someone else and co-conspirators. So basically saying that you were like put up to it. Number 4, proximity caused the death of another without intent to cause death, directly or indirectly, unlawfully selling, giving away, bartering, delivering, exchanging, distributing, or administering a controlled substance. And then number 5, cause the death of another in committing or attempting to commit a violation of section 609.344, malicious punishment of a child. So I'm not sure, because all of these pretty much say like intentionally. So
and I actually heard that they had to prove her intent, but again, how do you? Obviously, they did it somehow. And here's the crazy thing is that the jury was predominantly white. I bring it up because sadly, things play. There's a lot of biases that will influence people, the way people makes decisions. And in this situation, obviously, it wasn't. I mean, I can't say it was influenced by race, but I don't think it was influenced by race because you have a predominantly white jury. So the prosecution had to prove her intent to do what she did, which is kind of baffles me. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I didn't watch the trial. I told you guys I got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, so I didn't see the trial. But one of the things that I was thinking about when I heard the verdict, I knew that she would be. I knew that she was going to be charged. I just didn't know on what basis they were going to charge her for, which I think is interesting conversation.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I thought it was involuntary manslaughter this whole time because, like you said, I ain't been keeping up with it. I thought it was involuntary, meaning that she did it by an accident. She caused someone's death by mistake. So, hey, the jury must have had some information, or maybe they said so. I don't know. That's deep though. I didn't know that until just now. But just the first degree has a maximum sentence of 15 years. Just the first degree.
So that kind of goes back to the point of, I mean, especially right now when we talk about being a police officer, It's very scary times to be a police officer. I mean, is it still the best job? It's absolutely the best job ever. I mean, I love the job that we do, but it's a scary time to be a police officer because you're up against the court of public opinion, and depending on optics and how people view. And when we talked to John last episode about, or the 2 episodes ago, about the Breonna Taylor one, I mean, that was eye-opening, just the way that whole case was charged. I mean, John brought up himself a very similar set of circumstances that occurred at his own department that nobody ever even heard of, but because the color of the skin was different, it was looked upon differently.
So I had to act it was surprising how open he was about talking about that, because I was in trial during that. Keep in mind, I couldn't talk about it, but I was like, man, did y'all have grand jury yet? He's like, no, it's coming up. I ain't worried about everything I'm saying is true. I'm like, man, all right.
I know,
but yeah, it was very eye opening. I didn't know the part where he said like she basically like ran in front of the, and people was mad about that. People was mad about them posts that we put up there. I seen a couple.
Oh, I know. Oh man, people get on my nerves with that. I mean, they didn't even listen to the podcast, and then they kept going. They already started down this rabbit hole of why he was guilty, why he was this and that. And the great thing was that there were other people that came to our defense. Like, did you even listen to the podcast? If you actually listened to the podcast, you would actually
shout out to
hear
y'all, because y'all some real ones. Y'all, for like y'all listeners and viewers, like y'all be holding us down for real.
Straight up. They're actually, I think I took a screenshot of it real quick, and then we're gonna move on because AJ got to go to the gym soon.
Gotta get my gains.
I know, bro. I got to get back in this gym too.
Man.
So this was actually a really cool message that I got from somebody. It says, man, I know, just heartbreaking. Oh wait, hold on. Wrong message. I'm about to read y'all some of my private messages. Wrong message.
I've never fell out of love with you, Ryan.
Dang, I know, right? Where was this message at? Anyways, long story short, it was a message that was sent to me from a friend of mine who listened to that episode of the podcast. And after listening to it, he said basically, hey, you listening to that podcast, you completely changed my perspective of the whole Breonna Taylor situation. He was like, I was thinking and viewing it from one way, and then after hearing what you guys had to say, it completely changed my mindset on it all, just because I had never understood it from the angle that was presented, and to hear the way that John's perspective, it really just opened their eyes. And so shout out to everybody that listened to that podcast and actually listened to it from with an open heart and open ears, because you guys are the ones that's really going to help change the way we view things and understand things, because sadly a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Billy got a mic, by the way, that I can hear, so I'm just loving this episode. Billy be in my ear, sound like a radio announcer, like, hey, AJ.
Yes, and sorry, I feel a little scatterbrained today, only because I'm like trying to figure out the new equipment while we're recording. So I'm a little on the quieter side, but
no, Billy, you're not the only one. And just so you guys know, I'm a little scatterbrained too. We are working new technology out, and this is actually going to be good. So go ahead, AJ. Before I transition.
Just before I forget, how was y'all's Christmas?
Oh man, it was different. It was different, man. We didn't have my father-in-law, and then knowing that this was probably the last Christmas with my dad and maybe my grandfather, it was different, but it was still good. All in all, it was still good. Still count our blessings. Still count what the blessing I. What about you guys?
I mean, I got dinosaur toys coming out my ears, so but it was good. Family time.
Yeah,
it's good.
Did you have to put together anything?
I did.
I had to put together like a table and like 2 chairs, because we got like our son, like a little kid table, and like 2 little chairs that went with it. But my mother-in-law tested positive for COVID, so it was frustrating because it wasn't going to be the same like without them. But we made do. We just like FaceTimed them, and then we put it up on the big screen. And then they had toys to open, so we were able to watch them open toys live, and then they were able to see us from the phone opening all the toys. And it was just kind of like a reminder, like, you could always view things from one of 2 lenses. I could have been like super upset and just like angry and like just let it ruin my Christmas that they weren't there, because I love my in-laws and I want them to be there. Yeah, exactly. Or I could just be grateful that we live in a day where we had the technology for them to virtually be there. And that's the route I took. So it just really kind of put things into perspective, like especially towards the end of this year, like, just what lens to look through. Looking back at this year and the past year, it's been rough, man. And like sickness, I had like the flu 2 weeks ago, it tore me apart, and it just seems like everyone around is like just getting sick, whether it's the flu or COVID or something, or there's just everybody got like some variant of something. But despite like all of that, like we're still like very, very blessed. So it was good. It was good.
Man, that's so good to hear, man. So good to hear, and so good to be back, man. I told Billy when we walked in the studio today, I was like, man, I feel like I haven't been with y'all in a minute. I haven't recorded no content. Today was the first day we recorded content in like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of just off the charts and stuff like that. But we're back. Let me tell y'all, this setup we have.
Oh, it's a game changer.
It is a game changer. And I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. I was going to talk to you guys about it after we get off. But I think we might actually, with this setup, I low-key want to start doing it live.
Oh, like Billy like.
Because that potentially can give us. I mean, you can still, if you like to view and listen to this on your drive to work, we're still going to post it to iTunes and Apple iTunes. But if you wanted to interact with us live, you can technically go on to YouTube and interact with us and send questions to us live. And we have that capability of doing so now. So I'm excited for 2022. Really quickly, I found the message. It ain't like it ain't a bogus message.
This is why we need Billy on camera.
I know. Oh, yeah. This is going to be good. It says, you already know you are killing it with the BBU movement. The last podcast was needed like crazy. I don't hate the police, but I definitely love us and our community. But I changed my perspective on that Breonna Taylor case after watching that. Good work, bro.
Boom. There you go.
So that was good, man. But moving on, wrapping this thing up, man. We are so excited about 2022, guys. 2021 was a rough year to say the least. I mean, I saw a meme the other day, or today actually. My mom showed it to me. It was this picture of this guy that was all beat up. He had bruises and stuff like that. And so, and the caption said, "This is a guy we sent to go see what 2022 looks like."
I hope not.
Oh, man.
I hope not. It's got to be something in the future for us. That or Jesus need to go ahead and come back.
Man, come on back.
So,
but we appreciate every single one of you guys sticking with us for so long. Literally, we've been doing this for almost 3 years, and so the mere fact that we're still on, we're still doing it, pumping it out, and killing. The quality is getting better. We're not going backwards.
Yeah. And the numbers is going
up. That the numbers are going up. That is a sign that we're moving in the right direction. So we love you guys. Truly, truly love you guys. And, man, we can't wait to continue to move forward and grow with you guys. So,
Facts.
You guys got any last closing messages? Because the next time I talk to you guys will be in the next year.
Hold on, will it?
No,
yeah. New Year's is on New Year's Eve is on Friday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is on Friday. The New Year will be Saturday.
We'll be talking January next
2022.
Ooh, okay. Well, let me get my motivational hat on then. Bring it in the new year.
Put that motivational hat on.
All right, my because these ain't just our closing. This is our year-end closing thoughts.
No,
yep.
That's deep. So Billy, you get to go last. You got to close it out strong. All right.
I'm gonna do something just for you, AJ, and I'm gonna let y'all get. Since this is a family podcast,
let's do it.
I'm gonna add.
Yeah, this welcome. Billy was picking his nose.
No, I was like this.
Okay.
Y'all can see how bootleg it is in the background. We still got to get that tied up in the background.
You can see this on our YouTube.
Hey, Billy was like,
"Oh, hey, this is a Seinfeld moment. I was not picking my nose. It wasn't even a scratch. It was on my cheek."
Some people don't even know what Billy looks like. They now get to see what Billy looks like now.
Listen,
white?
Listen, we all knew you was white, Billy.
Oh, yeah, it's the New Balances, wasn't it?
Listen, I know what Billy looks like, but even seeing him in this setting is weird to me. Like, I can't stop, like, just looking at him. Like,
now I got to get better lighting.
Give us the applause, Billy, since we brought you in. Give us the applause.
And he got buttons.
We got buttons. This is good. This is good.
This is dangerous. This is dangerous. Man. All right, closing thoughts for the year. That's it, man. I think I just touched on it. You know, it's important to know which lens you look through, despite the circumstances. There's always a positive lens you can look through. There's a negative lens to look through. We've been through a lot. Collectively, individually, we have been through a lot this year. So going into the new year, I want you to change that lens. I want you to change the lens from negativity to positivity and just watch your energy change, like watch your motivation change, and like just watch you reach a whole new level, because you'll look at life differently. Like you'll look at adversity a different way. Like you'll look at the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations of life in just a completely different way. You almost accept it as a challenge. And every storm that approaches, you'll look at it like, okay, this is water I needed to grow. The seeds that were planted throughout my life, like this is the water that they needed. This is the nutrients that they needed to grow. So just change that lens as much as you can to a positive lens, and let's get it. This is our year. 2022 is a wrap. It's a wrap for the It's Needed podcast.
I love it. I love
the It's Needed podcast.
What you got, Billy?
Not much of a motivator over here. But I'm just my thing is I'm gonna keep just being consistent. So showing up, trying to do a better job each time, and keep going.
I love it. Now that Billy's
Kick
gonna be
today in the teeth.
Dude, I cannot stop staring at Billy right now. This is crazy.
Now that Billy's gonna be on camera.
I got a bruise here. You see that?
I
I was playing peekaboo with my kids outside the car, smashed my face on the handle on Christmas Day, lip bleeding.
Hey, I got one better for you.
Very embarrassing.
So I got on the, what are those called? The little wiggle boards? They're like a skateboard.
teeter-totter.
No.
The electric ones, or
No,
like
not the electric
merry-go-round.
ones.
Oh, the ones where you have to like pump it.
Roller
like,
coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it's called. So we got one for my son, and literally, I'm over here trying to, because it's hard when you get on it. It's like, bro, this is like hard to do. So me being a competitor, I was trying to figure it out.
A hoverboard?
So finally, no, it's not a hoverboard. It's like the manual one where you got to like kind of move your hips and go back and forth.
Yeah, I know what
Like
you're
a
talking about.
two-wheeled skateboard.
Yes, and so, bro, I got on it. And I was just start practicing. I was like starting to figure it out. I started getting confident. I was like, "Oh, babe, look it, man, babe, I'm hitting corners and stuff."
Babe, I'm an athlete,
bro. Dog, that's exactly what happened, bro. I was literally like, "Oh, check this out."
I'm gonna hit the staircase right here.
No, I literally slipped over the board.
Kickflip.
Slipped over the board, bro. I hit my hip, landed on my hip, and then I cut my leg somehow. I don't know how I cut my leg. So I got this big old Band-Aid on my leg right now.
Yeah.
And my wife, like, I like,
big old Band-Aid.
you know where you get that? You know where your kids do that like silent cry? Like I was like,
where you can't get your breath. You just like,
and as you age, you bruise really easily.
yes,
you know,
bro. So anyways, yeah, that
I bruised
happened
listening to the story.
That happened yesterday. But now that Billy is on camera now, bro, now he's gonna be cautious of what he wears to the studio now. Because
Oh,
before
for
he could get
sure.
away with just
Because
I would
sometimes
show
I
up
catch him
not
at the corner of the camera. I'm
shaved,
like, hold on, what is Billy wearing?
pajamas. Yeah.
now we really gonna see the Crocs in the camera. I guess my last motivational that I got for you guys is, this is gonna be the year of getting uncomfortable, and what I mean by that, take it in a positive way. I'm gonna put myself out there in many different ways that are gonna probably be uncomfortable. I'm gonna try to stretch myself beyond means this year. Not in a bad way. So I've already stretched myself from the implementation of the organization. So I've already been there, done that. But now I'm going to stretch myself for growth. Like it is time to take what we have and really just grow it to another level. So, we've been doing this work for 5+ years. I would say that like Billy said, we have been consistent with what we do, but now it's time to blow the wheels off, blow the doors off of it. This podcast showing you guys the new technology we're bringing into it. This is just an example of it. This is just one of the things to come. And so this is going to be a year that you guys put yourself in an uncomfortable position. So if that means, filling out some applications to become a police officer, if that means, getting in shape, whatever it is, this is your year to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what I got for y'all. So
Boom.
We love it, guys.
Drop.
Thank you guys for everything. Give me one more round of applause, Billy, just because we can do it, because I want to end the year on a good note. That is so legit. That is so dope. I'm so excited right now, y'all. So, guys, we appreciate you for sticking with us for all these years. Thank you guys for celebrating our ups. Thank you for celebrating our downs. Thank you for comforting us in times that we need it. This is truly a family podcast, and I'm so thankful to have every single one of you guys stick with us in our journey. So, with that, y'all, we love y'all, and we'll see y'all in 2022.
See you next year.
Peace.
Hey, look at Billy with
I love it. Oh, that's good. That's good.